Hi, I'm Giselle.
And I'm Xana.
And together we are
The Strong Sunflowers.
Hello, Strong Sunflowers. We are back for another episode. And this week, girl, we are bringing back the evolution of love, which was one of our most listened to episodes. But before we get into the details, G's going to tell us all about that. I want to make sure you know that we would love your support. So if you could go like, share, subscribe to our podcast, to all of our socials. We are on all the platforms. And like with your engagement, it engages us. We just love it. We love your support. So please tell your mom, tell your friends, tell your grandma, tell your cat who the Strong Sunflowers are, and come hang out with us wherever you like to listen to your podcast or do your socials. With that said, I do want to remind y'all, we just started doing these field trips, these virtual field trips. And last month was so much fun. We went over all the 5 tips of being a strong ass sunflower. And in March, we are going to go do a deep dive on self-love and self-care, which is our first tip. So save the date for March 21st and more details to come. Just make sure that you go to our socials and website so you know the date and you don't miss out. With that said, I'm going to pass it over to my girl G, who's going to tell us all about the evolution of love.
Hello, field. Welcome back. Oh my gosh. So yes, like Xana was saying, last year, our most popular episode was the evolution of love. And we really digged and were honest, really honest about this fairy tale that they sold us, and they did not pay up. Okay, did they not come through for us? The fairy tale was definitely painted a certain way, and it just wasn't it. It wasn't it. And one of the biggest things that I at least learned from that episode is that growing up in this religious background, we were always told it's like you're going to be chosen. You know, you're waiting for this Prince Charming to save you and to choose you. But I have learned that, honey, we are the choosers. We are choosing. So this year, this episode is all about the evolution of self-love, the evolution of loving ourselves and taking care of ourselves and choosing us. We're choosing us all 2023. And while I was digging a little bit into this topic, when I researched self-love, a lot of the questions that popped up is like, what is self-love? And is self-love selfish? So I wanted to ask the field and you, Xana, what is self-love to you, and is it selfish?
Girl, hell no, it's not selfish. It's necessary in order to pour into other people. Self-love to me is recognizing your needs and meeting them. I think a lot of time, especially women, especially moms, they put themselves last. They put their health last. I fell into that when I had my babies. Girl, when you have a newborn baby, you have like a checkup every 2 weeks. Then it leads to every month. You got to do their vaccinations if you're opting into that journey. And I remember having Joaquin, he was my first baby. And I was like, oh my gosh, he was like 4 at the time. And I was like, I don't think I've been to the doctor, the dentist, to a hair appointment, to anything in the last 4 years, because my number one priority was his health, which is important. I'm not telling you to like not take care of your kids, because you need to take care of yourself, but you need to find that balance, right? You need to pour into your cup first so that you can overflow into the people that you love, right? Because if you are pouring from a depleted cup, you in the negative, girl. And I've even noticed this year I moved, right? And so my rhythm of self-love and self-care that I had gotten into in Florida changed. And so instead of kind of figuring it out, it reminds me of Atlas of the Heart. Brene Brown says, when we're in overwhelm, guess what we go to? We do nothing, right? And so I got into this space where I was just kind of like a potato. I was like, I had this boot camp community that filled my cup in Florida. I don't have that here, so I'm just not going to even do anything. Right. But guess what? I started gaining weight. I started self-loathing more. I wasn't showing up as my best self with my podcast, with school, with work, with my family. And so I've had to really, as I was getting into running and doing this marathon, it really woke me up to how much I was depleting my self-love over the last year and a half because I was in a space of uncomfort, right? And so I think that's the hardest part when you want to, reach for more. It's like, how do you contain that love for yourself, even though you're going through really challenging times? So that's a roundabout way to define what I think self-love is, but I'd love to know your opinion too, G.
Yeah, right now I feel like self-love is choosing you and not betraying you. Because for the longest time, I thought that love equaled sacrifice. You have to sacrifice your happiness, your your peace, the things that you love, because you're trying to please this other person and make them happy. Oh, like I want to go here. Well, they don't really like going for walks. So let's just not go for a walk. I learned that that love was self-betrayal. And that's the waha moment that appeared to me this year. Like I was sacrificing so much of myself for the people that I love because I love them. And connecting that to growing up and the environment that I grew up in. And like, that's what my mom would always tell me, you have to do this because you sacrifice for the family. That's what you do. And as I was getting prepared for this episode, I was thinking of the question that they always tell you is like, how can you love someone if you don't love yourself? They always tell you that. But the better question is, how are you going to show someone to love you if you can't love yourself? I've been listening to Oprah. I love Oprah. And she's been talking. I listened to one of her talks, and she talked about growing up as well in that kind of environment where she was whipped as a child and she was beat as a child. And her mom, her aunt, her uncle, whoever was doing the whipping would always say, I do it because I love you. I do this because I love you. So just the thought of that mindset, then you become an adult and you get into these relationships that they beat you. They verbally talk bad about you. They verbally put you down. And it's because you think that's love. You think that that's how people are supposed to love you. So one of the biggest things for me, it's like choosing you, finding your self-love through you. And what do you love about yourself? How do you show love to yourself? Are you using kind words? Are you taking yourself out on dates? Are you buying yourself flowers? The new Miley Cyrus jam. Hey, I can buy my own flowers. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Because once you start doing it for yourself, then you can show someone to start doing it for you. And one of my favorite things about self-love is that when you finally find it, when you finally start loving yourself and who you are, and you're confident in who you are, because I feel like self-love is directly tied with knowing yourself. If you know yourself, if you know that you're smart, that you're kind, that you are worthy, that you have a vision for your life and who you want to be, no one, man or woman, can come into your life and tell you, Giselle, you're rude. You're not kind. You're a nasty person. Okay, bye, Felicia. Next, because I know these things not to be true for myself. I know who I am. I love who I am, So being in that mindset really allows you to cut the BS, cut the bullshit all the way off. When people come at you, giving you the bare minimum, that's why sometimes we find ourselves in these situations. Like this past year, the evolution of self-love has been great, like immense for me. So I don't know if I told you guys already, but I was in my situationship for like the last 2 years. And I was just feeling really heavy, really heavy in that place, because I knew I was in this limbo, and I knew that I was self-betraying, and I knew that I wasn't showing as much self-love as I thought. We have a podcast that talks all about self-love, and you're the prize, and you're this strong ass sunflower, and here I am depleting myself, giving all my resources to this person that I thought, again, that sacrifice was love. And I find myself in Capri. I think I told this story, and I'm like, it's my birthday and I'm in the bathroom crying. And I'm like, oh my gosh, why am I so unhappy? Why am I so unhappy? And it's because I was betraying myself. So I feel like when we know ourselves and we have self-love, then we just don't put up with BS. Like it's so much easier to cut people out of the field. It's so much easier to cut people out of the field that are not pouring into you. And I'm so glad that Z, as a mom, has found that she doesn't have to sacrifice herself, that you can go for your goals and your dreams. And this just motivates Rosie and Roma to live their very best life too, because they can do all of the things.
And Tito and Hoa too, boo. I know the world is really set up for men to kind of go after their goals and aspirations and not women. But you know, as the tides turn, I saw something with Joaquin the other day. It's probably like not the other day, it's probably like 2 years ago. So let's scratch that. It's about 2 years ago, Joaquin came up to me and he said, "Man, the world's all about women now." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "That's all I hear about is like women achieving goals and women doing amazing things." And I was like, no, it's for humans, right? It's just women have been suppressed for so long to be the nurturers, to be the second class citizen, to be the supporting actress. There it is, right? So to be the supporting actress. And so it's not about them being better than men, but it's about them being equal and being able to show up and not just be a mom, but to be a mom and whatever else they want, right? And so it's for Tito and Hoa too, because I don't want them to think that, you know, the tides are changing and now men are left out. No, it's about all of us finding that love within ourselves and being the best versions of ourselves and evolving and not allowing other people to define us. But it's so interesting, G, because it's crazy that when you get out of the field you're used to, how quickly you can go back to those self-loathing tendencies. So is there any advice that you'd have for somebody that, you know, maybe once was that strong ass sunflower and stepped into a room and was like, this is me, take me or leave me, but now, you know, maybe doesn't feel that way anymore, maybe does feel a little uncomfortable, maybe does feel less confident in their skin? How do they get back to a space where they can shine and show everybody that blue moment again?
I think that's where the place that I just got out of, because one of the things that I have learned last year, is that there's duality in everything. And when I talk to my therapist and I tell her about my alter ego, Big G, you know, she is that strong ass sunflower that's strong all the time, but she's just a part of me. You know, we all have that lows and highs. We all have that place, like that duality. At work, I am a strong ass sunflower all the time. I can set my boundaries like nobody's business. I can show up for myself like nobody's business. But sometimes when I'm in relationships, that's when I see like, okay, yeah, I can let go here and I can accept this and not this. And the advice that I would give is be honest with yourself. Because when I look back at the things that had happened, it's because I wasn't being honest with myself. It's because I was trying to sugarcoat the bad things, the things that I didn't like, the things that I knew in my gut were giving me that anxiety, that limbo feeling, that unease. I was trying to sugarcoat it and say, oh, no, it's fine. Maybe it's me. I'm the problem. But no, it's my environment. It's what I'm allowing in my field. That's the problem. So I would just say, be honest with yourself. I feel like when I say that, I feel like sometimes people think being honest with yourself is like this like mean thing, you know, like, oh my gosh, like I used to be this like fitness model and now I'm not. I'm just fat and blah, blah, blah. No, I'm not. When I say be honest with yourself, I'm not talking like that. I'm saying like, okay, I used to be this fitness model and okay, now I'm not anymore. What's the true story behind it? Why did I stop doing that? Was it bringing me joy? No, I stopped because it wasn't. So how can I add more joy into my life that also helps my body, but I don't have to have the six pack? How can I, you know, having that balance? You can be fit, but not be fitness, you know? So that's my number one tip. Just be honest with yourself and be kind and have grace for yourself. Like yesterday, I didn't go to the gym because I worked 16 hours. That's okay. I'm going today. Every day is a new day. So what about you, Queen?
I love that. I keep thinking about this song by Sarah Bareilles she wrote for Waitress the Musical, because I feel like that's where I tend to get stuck. It's called She Used to Be Mine, for those of you that are like musical theater nerds, or not. She has like a pop version, so you should go listen to it. But it really talks about this woman kind of getting caught in the past of who she used to be. And I've noticed over the last year and a half that I have been caught back in the version of me, like who I was at my pinnacle, in my last chapter in Florida. I was working out consistently. I was doing therapy and planning and working on my mental health consistently. I was going on dates with my husband consistently. I was meditating and saving space for myself spiritually consistently. And I had a group of people in my field that I loved and adored, and they loved and adored me. And we supported each other through thick and thin consistently. And then when I moved, all of that went away, right? It went away in my mind. And then I started emotionally eating. And then I stopped working out. And then I stopped going to therapy. And then I didn't really have like a faith or like spirituality practice. And then I didn't really know anybody, right? But I had my field back in Florida that I would connect with. And so I got like stuck in this like repeated like mind circle of Florida, this chapter, who I used to be, my past. And that's what would play over and over again. But what was happening is my reality was changing. My health was shifting. My mental well-being was shifting. I wasn't feeling as connected to my soul and doing things that brought me joy. I stopped writing music, right? And so I think for me, it's like pushing pause on that sad song of She Used to Be Mine and getting to a space where, like you said, like listening to your intuition and saying, okay, what got me here? And what steps and what knowledge do I have about myself that I know can kind of pull me out of this space that I'm in? And what can I do today to interact with that side of myself, right? Because I have those skills, I have those abilities. I did them before. It's just they're out there. I'm unconditioned. I got out of the habit, right? And I think getting back last week, we talked about 7 habits on my part, and G talked about atomic habits, but it's just about showing up consistently for yourself and getting back in the rhythm, and then giving yourself grace when maybe you fall short, right? Because then if you start that cycle of self-loathing again, guess what? You're probably not going to continue working out and cheering yourself on. You're going to be hating yourself. And your mind, what you tell yourself in your mind becomes your language, which becomes your actions, which become your results. And so I think that's really been my evolution of self-love. I am so proud of myself. I've worked out more probably in January outside of training for a marathon, but like I count my workouts as being able to close my rings every day on my Apple Watch. And yes, I was running and training for a marathon, but I didn't really do a lot of like other workouts that I'm used to. I was used to flipping tires and like doing the warrior ropes. And, that was my level of working out in Florida. And so I've been dedicated to Apple Fitness. I've been dedicated to closing my rings. This last week, we did get an ice storm in Austin. So I have not worked out as much. I've missed 2 days, but you know what? We're getting back on the horse, and we love ourselves and we forgive ourselves because we understand the circumstance. We understand the why behind the what. And then we're making sure that going forward, we're not going to trip ourselves up or be an obstacle, right? That's the point. That's the self-love. It's that forgiveness and that, that understanding. If G would have done that for herself, I would have forgiven it. But if I do it, I'm going to, cause, or what's the word I want to say? I'm gonna, belittle myself to damnation. No, I'm human, and it's okay to have an off day. Just get back on the next day. Just keep trying, keep having that courage to try. So I think that's where I'm at now. We're getting back, and we're ready for like the next chapter. We're ready to not just, reminiscing of who I used to be when I was a 19-year-old cheerleader and had abs. Oh, who I used to be when I was 30 and had 2 kids and bounced back after my pregnancy because I was like eating healthy and working out consistently. Oh, who I used to be in Florida when I went to boot camp and took all my kids and I was a rock star. No, right now, this chapter is I'm finding myself again in my late 30s in a new state. And I'm going to love myself through the process. That's where I'm at.
I love that for you. That's that big Z attitude. I love that. And I feel like when we have self-love for ourselves, it just allows us to show up to our relationships so much better. We can show up for other people so much better. Like when our cup overfilleth, like, and we have that abundance mindset, like there's enough. It's kind of like when Jesus filled that cup and it's like it gave everybody drink, everybody can eat. Or is it the fish? I don't know. I don't know the analogy. But
Bread, baby.
the bread, the
Bread
fish,
and
the cup.
fish. I think there was water too. I think it was a whole meal, girl.
Jesus said, eat, honey, eat in abundance. Okay. And when we have that mindset about ourselves, having that abundance, like our glass has abundance of water that we can give, but only if we continue to pour in ourselves. Only if we continue to pour in ourselves, we can show up for others. And one of the things that I have loved about this evolution of self-love is when I give way more freely. Even when it comes to either my time, my money, my efforts, I just give more freely and with a more open heart because I'm not like depleted. I don't need it as much because when we are in that space, like it's hard to give because we're needing to give to ourselves. So I think that's having self-love, that's one of the ways that it has touched my life the best. But I would love to know, how has self-love touched your relationship with your husband and your family?
Yeah, I think it's improved our communication. That's where it all starts, right? I think one of the lies I told myself when I got married is like your husband or your partner would just know. They'd know because they can read your mind. You're that connected. And that's false. We're human. We don't have the ability to read minds. And no matter how connected you are, you still need to make sure that you're talking through things, because I might perceive a behavior as one thing and Esteban could see it as something else. And I'll get a little personal. We've both kind of gone through a faith crisis. Esteban did it silently for 5 years. And I always just thought, okay, we have 4 kids, we have busy schedules. Maybe he's just tired, or maybe it's because I'm not attractive anymore. Like I took his behavior in 20 different directions. And it wasn't until 2020 when, the tornado of the pandemic hit and everything just stopped, right? Life just went on pause. There was no more church. There was no more responsibilities at church. And I just saw our relationship becoming stronger. There weren't all these distractions pulling us in different directions. We could just exist and we could talk and we could seek understanding. And it was in that moment where I was like, oh my gosh, like I haven't been this connected to you in probably 8 years. It was like once we started having kids, we just weren't as connected. We were busy, we were tired, we were making sure they were staying alive. But in order to keep our relationship alive, we both had to pour into ourselves. And that big pause where we weren't going to work, we weren't going to church, we weren't going out in the community and doing things. We were just existing together and being able to talk through things. It really fortified our relationship. And so we've tried to stay true to that. Like, even if there's like a moment where he's like, you looked at me weird, what's going on? Right. Or I'm like, hey, you're really quiet. Are you okay? Right. Like we check in with each other and seek understanding instead of taking things personally, where when we weren't in a good headspace of self-love and self-care and living wholeheartedly, it was easy to like take things personally or just ignore them and suppress the feelings. And then that never turns out well either. So I would say the tool that's really helped me find that spark again in my relationship has been just clear and honest, consistent communication.
Yes, communication is key. And I feel right now the best way that self-love has been coming into my life is through solo dates. I took myself on my first solo date last month and it was amazing. I was able to have that clear communication with myself, having those conversations that sometimes I'm just like, yeah, I still want to do that. Yeah. But like, no, like I don't want to do that. But I lied to myself. I had like a very open conversation, whether it was, what do you want business wise? What do you want financial wise? What do you want for the future? Do you want to be a doctor? Yes or no? That's it. That's the question. And also follow up. Do you want to be a doctor right now? Yes or no? And it was a no for me. But do I still want to be a doctor? Yes. So it was just really nice to have that open communication, and it has really helped me make my list so clear. Because no, I don't have the partner yet, but I am getting so clear in my vision that when someone that can be my partner, like I have this tool to tell them like, hey, this is me. I know me. I can show you me. And then if that works for you, great. If it doesn't, we can keep it moving. But like having that compile, kind of like a resume, to be like, hey, I know who this person is. And this is her 100%, like no bullshit, just 100% her. So I'm excited. I'm excited of the work that I'm doing for the future me, for my future family, for my future partner, for my future kids. And yeah, but I'm really excited for this next part of the episode because we had to bring the field in to talk about their own little traumas told by people. And the question that Santa and I asked was, what is the worst relationship advice you have ever received?
Girl,
Z,
it's
what?
getting spicy over here. And literally, I wanted to make a point here about self-love, self-care, and even your love within your friendships and your relationships or your situationships. When you have other people butting in and saying, well, if I were you, or, this is what I think you should do. That advice, like they have no idea like what's going on. They have no idea unless they're like a therapist and they're having you, I call it like lead learning out. Like they're asking you questions so that you can self-identify and self-solve. Like they have no room to butt their opinion in. So some of these things that people were told, whether it was in a marriage or whether it was in a relationship, is just wild. So I'm going to read through a few of these and then G and I will talk about a few. So first was, just co-parent with her. Let her do her thing. It's better for the kids. If you love him, fight for him. Staying in a relationship for kids, family, or what will others say? Finances, marriage is sacred. You don't divorce. It's bad in God's eyes. A woman said, staying for anything other than what you believe is best for yourself is the only reason you should stay in that relationship, not for any other reason. Just stay. They will change. Just give them time. You were friends with them once. You can get there again. What? If it's broken, it's broken, right? This one hurt me, man. It says, you should have stayed with him even though he beat you so bad that you ended up in the hospital and he had an affair. Divorce is against the Catholic religion, and a woman is supposed to support her husband no matter what. A couple others and that I've received was, don't go to bed angry and argue naked. Anybody else with me? Anybody else receive that? I don't know, girl. I don't know about all that. Another one, this woman is gay, has identified as gay for a long time. And somebody walked up to her and said, you just haven't found the right man yet. That's why you're gay. You just need to find the right man. It's like, what? I have a few more. It says, marriage is the only way to truly be happy. So that's the next step. Just go with it. And then last but not least is having a child will help a troubled marriage. So G, which spicy, horrible relationship advice do you want to unpack?
Those were all trash. 0 out of 10. Don't recommend. 0 out of 20. I don't even know how many zeros. I mean, it's just wild. Because a lot of them, when they said, especially like the one about the woman that her husband beat her, and it reminded me of my own question when I was praying about my divorce. And I'm like, Lord, do I have to wait for my husband to beat me to leave? Is that the cutoff? Like, what is the cutoff? Especially when you hear things like, oh, divorce, we don't divorce in the Catholic religion. We don't divorce. Marriage is sacred. Yeah, marriage is sacred. So if you're not in it, don't be in it. Get out. If you're not in a open place in heart to be in a marriage, don't be in it, because I still do believe marriage is sacred. And because of that sanctity of marriage, if I don't want to be in it, I don't want to like depurify it with infidelity, with all these like negative toxic traits, because that's not marriage. And then that's when we have people out there like, oh yeah, marriage, don't get married, marriage is trash. No, like it was just trash people together that weren't supposed to be married in the first place.
Yeah. And one girl made a point where she's like, and sometimes marriage isn't for everybody, right? When you unpack marriage, I read this amazing book by Elizabeth Gilbert called Committed. And she went through a similar experience as I did, because Esteban and I did the fiance visa process. And so she kind of writes better experience, and she walks through the history of marriage throughout time. And somebody within our field kind of spoke to this, that, you know, marriage a lot of times is really a pinnacle within a faith group and or a government, right? It helps you with taxes or with, you know, X, Y, and Z. And she's like, some people don't want that. Some people don't have that feeling that marriage is sacred, right? We grew up, Gigi and I, in a religion that was very focused on marriage. We, as young kids, just knew that that was something that we wanted to experience. And I have enjoyed my marriage. I know other people have not. But I think there's room in the field for all mindsets, right? And it's nobody's business. If I come from that mindset that marriage is sacred, to then go tell somebody else that they should get married too because it's sacred, but they don't believe that, that's not my space. That's not my field. That's not my life, right? Like it's not my responsibility to tell them that they should get married, right? Or walk through their relationship with them. I'm here to save space. I'm here to listen. I'm here to be a sounding board. I'm here to lead that learning out so that they can make their own decisions. And then hopefully that takes away that blaming, right? I think a lot of times we get into this blame circle. So it's like, G told me to fight naked and then I did it and it didn't work. So G, you hurt my marriage. And it's like, nah, girl, you just took bad advice and you didn't do what worked for your marriage. So turn those fingers back on you. You are the author to your life. You are the main character, which means it comes with that responsibility to filter through the BS people are going to be sending your way, whether it's about your job, about your relationship, about your eating habits, about all the things. You have to make the decision, and you have to be able to filter through all the advice that you're going to get. Sometimes you're going to get nuggets that are going to be beneficial to you. Take them, right? But a lot of times, you're going to get BS. You're going to get trash work, and you've got to listen to your gut and lean into that self-love, self-care, that inner voice within you to make sure that you're making the decisions that are going to be best for your life.
You think it's a little chocolate kiss, and it's poop. It's poop. Trash work. Trash work. A couple of the other ones that I saw is kids are better off with two parents than divorced parents. Oh my gosh, isn't that a lie? Like kids can see through your BS. They can see that you hate each other. They can see you don't want to be together. They can see you're unhappy. They can see all of it. And all you're telling them is like, oh man, I don't want to grow up and get married. Marriage is trash. They're so unhappy. I don't want that.
No, it's true. And then you're repeating the cycle, right? They often grow up and put themselves in situations where they just submit to inappropriate behavior. Whether I know that my parents did argue a lot. My mom, in one of her other relationships, was in an abusive situation. And in high school, I got into a similar situation where someone was very disrespectful to me, right? And it was like a wake-up call, like, oh my gosh, I'm repeating the cycle. No, like I draw the line. I need somebody that's kind, that's fun, that is international, right? And I think I foot the bill with Esteban. So we got to draw a line in the sand, y'all, because that stay together for the kids BS. No, it's better for them to have two parents that are wholehearted and that are truly themselves than to have two parents that loathe each other and they can like slice the tension every day in the house with a knife. I opt for the wholehearted parents that live in separate houses. We get 2 Christmases.
And another one that they also said is, y'all need to get married already. Marriage is the next step with this one, right? And oh, this is a good one. Okay. Marriage is the only true way to be happy and secure in a relationship. Ain't that a lie? Ain't that a lie? Oh my gosh. Like Beyonce, step up. JC cheated on Beyonce. It's Beyonce. I'm just saying, mind blown. It's Beyonce. It's Beyonce. That's all I have to say. Like, security is, you can give people security in friendships and your best friend and an associate at work. You can give people security in a 5-year relationship. Like, marriage for some, like we talked about, can be the cherry on the top. And it's like, you know what? I already love you. Like, we already a great team. We're already great partners. And me changing my mindset when it comes to marriage, I'm not looking for a marriage. I'm looking for a life partner. And if my life partner, it's like, you're my life partner. Like, I want to make this official. Like, not even, see, my mindset still, some of it cripples back. But it's like, I don't want, it's not about making it official because it's already official. Us being together and choosing each other, it's already official. That's as much as official as it can get. But if we do want to get married, we're going to do it for us. And I know, like, my next wedding, I know my next wedding, I just want it to be for us. I don't want it to be for anybody else. So if there's only 10 people in the room that are ride or die for us and that we love, wholeheartedly love, then that's the wedding. That's it. That's it.
I'm like, you already got 6 people coming with my family. So he's got room
Okay.
for 4.
Perfect.
I love it.
But I hope that this episode, the intention of this episode was for you guys to focus more on your self-love, for you guys to truly dig deep into who you are and why you love yourself. So then you can give that love to others, not only in a romantic way, but to your friends, to your family, to your kids, to bless the people around you because you love yourself. And every time that people look at you, you're so damn happy. They're going to be wondering why. Why are you so happy? And it's because I am overfilling. I am overfilled with abundance and love. We shall see you guys on the next episode. Ciao.